Hello. We're on our next activity. This is 1.3.4. This is going to have a total of 3 parts to it. This first part is called 1.3.4 Polygons. So as we're getting started, of course, we want to go over to our data panel. You want to open up your IED designs in Unit 1. We're going to go on over to our work area, our design area. We want to make sure that our view cube is correct in the correct orientation. If it's not, you need to fix it before you get started. Then you're going to go over to your document settings. We want our units to be in inches for this particular design. So make sure you change your document settings units to inches. I'm going to click OK. Now that I have that done, I'm going to go on up to my file. I'm going to click Save. I'm going to call this 1.3.4 Polygons. Make sure it's saved in my Unit 1. I'm going to click Save. Okay, now I can close that and give myself some room. So first thing we need to do is we are going to create a sketch. We want this to be on the XZ plane. Make sure you are choosing the correct plane when you're doing these designs. It makes a difference on what it looks like at the end. XZ plane. So I've got my XZ plane. I'm going to go on up to Create. I'm going to choose Center Rectangle. When I choose my center rectangle, I'm going to start right here on my origin point. Always start on your origin point when you're doing this. I'm going to click. I'm going to start dragging out. I want my horizontal to be 6. I'm going to tab over, and I want my vertical to be 4. So horizontal is going across, vertical is going up and down. So once you have those in place, you can go ahead and click OK, and we have our center rectangle. We're going to put 3 different types of polygons in here. Before we do this, we're going to add a construction line here on this green line on the y-axis and a construction line on the x-axis. We need this in order to line up some constraints in a little bit. So I'm going to go up to my line tool. Then in my sketch palette, I'm going to select construction. I'm going to go over to my left edge. I'm going to make sure I'm at my midpoint. I should be directly on that red line. I'm going to drag across to the other side. Again, I'm waiting for the midpoint, which should again be directly on that red line. I'm going to click. I'm going to do the same thing for the green line. So I should be lined up so that my midpoint constraint shows up right there. Now I'm going to turn off my construction. Okay, you need to deactivate the construction line type. Otherwise, all of your polygons will be construction lines, and then you won't be able to extrude and do other things to them later on. Okay, now I'll zoom in a little bit, and I want to do okay. So first thing we're going to do is up in this upper left quadrant, we are going to place an inscribed polygon. Oh, sorry, circumscribed polygon. So I'm getting ahead of myself here. This is going to be a circumscribed polygon. So we're going to go to Create. We're going to go to Polygon, and you want to choose Circumscribed Polygon. Now, anywhere up here in this left area, you can just click and start dragging. We want the dimension to be 0.35. Then we're going to hit Tab. And this is a pentagon, so we're going to do 5 sides. And then you can click Enter. And there is our first polygon. It's a circumscribed polygon. Now, we're going to go ahead and put an inscribed polygon in the upper right corner. So I'm going to go to Create, down to Polygon, Inscribed, and then again, anywhere up here in this area is fine. And I'm going to go ahead and start clicking. I want this to be, the dimension to be 0.25, and it should have 6 sides because it's going to be a hexagon. So once I have that, I can click OK. And then the third shape we're going to put down here in this corner, we're going to make an equilateral triangle. So I'm going to go on up to Create. We're going to go to Polygon, and we're going to go to Edge Polygon this time. So I'm going to do Edge Polygon. I'm going to come on down here. I'm going to place my first spot. I want my dimension to be 1.25, so I can go ahead and put that in now. And then I want my, whoops, there we go. And I want the number of sides to be 3. And there is our equilateral triangle. Oops, sorry. Let me do that again. And Edge Polygon. Uh, 1.25. And 3, and enter. There we go. I forgot to hit enter. Okay. Now we're going to apply some constraints to all of these shapes. Here we're going to start up with our pentagon up here. We're going to start off with a coincident constraint. So I'm going to click on my coincident constraint. I want to click the center of my pentagon. You see that dot right there in the center. You want to click the center of that pentagon. And then you want to click this construction line right here on the y-axis. Once you do so, it'll move that pentagon over and it'll fix it to that. Now we want to do the horizontal constraint. We're going to click on one of these bottom edges and it'll line it up so that it's horizontal with our x-axis. Okay. Last thing we're going to do with this one is we're going to go up to our sketch dimension. We're going to click on the bottom corner, the lower left corner. You can see the dot shows up when I hover over that. We want that dot. And then we want to go to the y-axis, that construction line, I'm sorry, x-axis, the construction line on our x-axis. And we want this dimension to be 0.5. Oops. Let me do that, 0.5. And then click enter. And what this did was it put our pentagon on this line. It lined it up here, made it horizontal here, and put it at a distance of 0.5 inches. So it's not going to move from there unless we change those. Okay. And cancel. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the hexagon. We're going to start off with a coincident constraint again. We're going to click on the center. If you need to see the centers, you can zoom in. I'm going to click on the center. And then I'm going to click. I want to make sure I'm on this diagonal line right here. And it'll move it over so it's lined up with the diagonal line. Now I want my parallel constraint. And my parallel constraint, I'm going to click on the lower edge of my hexagon and then on the top rectangle line. And I'll line it up so it's sitting just like that, like we need it. And then we need our sketch dimension. Click on sketch dimension. We're going to click on the center of the hexagon. And then on the top line of the rectangle here, we're going to drag it up this way to the right a little bit. And we want this to be 0.5. We're going to click enter. So that keeps it right there in that position. Okay, the next thing, we have our triangle down here. So with the triangle, let me turn off my constraint there, cancel. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to click on the vertex of my triangle. This vertex right here, you see that there's a dot that comes up. So I'm going to go up to my coincident constraint. I'm going to click on that vertex where that dot is. And then I'm going to click in this bottom right corner of the rectangle. And it moves it on over there so that it's locked in place. We're going to do another coincident constraint. So we're going to keep our coincident constraint on. We're going to click on the center of the triangle, this dot right here, and then on the diagonal line right here. And it lines it up nice and neat. Okay, and then we can click OK. And that is all you need for the part 1 for this activity. So go ahead and upload this in Canvas for part 1 and then join me back for part 2.